Hello, hello. Happy Thursday, my friends. So far this week, I'm looking at my list, and we have spent some time, putting our finger on the heart of the story, and developing that bit by bit action in that most important part of the story. We have spent some time on our feelings and not saying, "Oh, I had so much fun. It was great. It was fun. I was excited," and instead developing what that might be like instead of telling us, showing. And now today we're going to go back again and have a look at the leads and endings. So I'm going to jump right in to share my screen with you all and show you what I've been working on with leads and endings. Okay. So again, the beginning of your story needs to grab those readers and make them want to read your story instead of just being like meh and like chucking it off to the side. So what you want to do is you want to get their attention by either using a little bit of action, a little bit of setting, a little bit of dialogue, or a little bit of thinking. Maybe even a combination of those things. But I'm going to show you what my story might look like if I used a little bit of action in the story about getting splashed by a puddle. I might say that my arms swung back and forth as I practically skipped down 11th Street. I felt the keys in my pocket clanging against my leg while rain pelted my arms an umbrella. So there you're like sort of imagining what's happening, all of the movement that's happening. If I were to start this with a little bit of setting, I want to show my readers what it looked like that day. Trees that lined 11th Street rustled, even though only a smattering of brown leaves could be seen. Skies had opened and rain poured down sidewalks and stoops. Row houses stood proudly along one side of the street, while a new fancy building adorned the other. So you can picture what it might have looked like that day when it was raining. Maybe you want to try a little dialogue. Bye, Nancy, Miss Durson called out, walking east on 11th. Bye, Miss Durson. See you tomorrow, I answered back. I knew it was hard to hear me over all of that rain that pelted the sidewalks and streets. And last but certainly not least, maybe you want to try to incorporate a little bit of thinking into the beginning of your story. And you can try that little strategy that I taught you last week. I remember thinking, because if you write, I remember thinking, then you know there's thinking in there, but you don't have to even use it. But it's just like a way right now as a beginning writer for you to make sure it's in there. I remember thinking, wow, it sure is raining hard. I wanted it to stop so that I didn't have to get so wet. I wondered if I would make it home before the next downpour. Okay, so now you have today spent a little time trying out 2, 3, or 4 different leads, and you're going to pick one. I kind of like the little dialogue for my story, and I kind of like the setting. So I might choose either one of those. I might even start it out with both. If you were to consider the ending of your story now remember, I got splashed by the puddle, I went, and I started cracking up and walked away. So in your story, remember your story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It rained, I got splashed by a puddle, I laughed hysterically. That's my story. But instead, in your ending, you want to leave your readers with a lasting impression. It's almost like you are reminding the readers what the story is about, or really what the story is really about. Like, yeah, the story's about getting splashed by a puddle, but it's really about how, you know what, sometimes bad things happen, but you could still laugh it off. So my ending might have some important action. It might have a little bit of dialogue. There might be some strong images, like what you can really picture, maybe even like a comparison image that's not even like real, but it's sort of like a metaphoric sort of image. And maybe it might still remind the reader what the story was about. I chose to do all 4 of those things in my story, and it's not even long. Watch. What's in purple is what you see, the movement in the story. What's in red are the images that you can actually see that are strong. And what's in blue, it's the dialogue that might have happened or talking that might have happened. And what's in green is reminding the reader what my story was really about. And I remember I got splashed by the puddle. I dried myself off. In that moment, I had to wipe the mud off my pants while the leaves, still blowing, offered to dry them off. Skipping home, I heard Miss Durson say, "Are you okay, Nancy?" Of course I was okay. This little dance I had with Mother Nature was really the best part of my day. Now, interestingly enough, even though I wrote this about 15 minutes ago, I already see something that I want to change. I think that that W needs to be a lowercase. Whoops. I feel like that W needs to be a lowercase. And I feel like instead of saying Miss Durson say, I want it to be Miss Durson called. I heard Miss Durson call, "Are you okay, Miss Nancy?" As opposed to she just said. Okay. When you are finished watching this video, your assignment today, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is going to be to try this. I really, really want you to try it because I think that there are so many ways that you can make your little moment of your life explode. And one of the ways to do that is to have a really strong beginning and a really strong ending. Listen, if I was going to train for the marathon, I would have to have a really strong training program so that I have a really successful marathon. I can't just be like, oh yeah, I'm going to run a few miles and I'm going to go out there and try it, because it's not going to work that way. I have to work really, really hard on all of the foundation as my lead so that I have a really, really solid story, and the finish line, that's my ending. Okay. I hope you have a beautiful day.